So, good morning everyone. Welcome to the class of digital communication. In the last lecture, we have already seen the concept of random variable. Now, today we are going to extend our discussion. From random variable to random process. Right? So, if we talk about random variable, we know that in certain experiments, what we have to do, we have to map the outcomes of an experiment to the real axis, and the rule or the function by which we are doing so, that is called random variable, and we can represent that random variable by a capital Roman letter X. And now today what we are going to see that how this random variable random process are related, right? So if we strictly see the definition of random process, what we can say that if the random variable is a function of time, then it can be called as a random process. Right? This is important. So what is the definition of random process? Whenever this random variable becomes function of time, right? So you can say that random process can be defined as x of t, right? Because this time this random variable is a function of time, and if it is a function of time, then it cannot be simply a random variable. It can be named as random process. And we know that we are studying these all random variable and random process with the reference of our wireless communication. So random process, so the signal which is very popular in wireless communication, we know it is noise. And this noise is basically the random process. So the analysis of this noise signal can be done with the help of random process, right? So this noise signal in communication can be treated as random process. So what is random process? Again, I am reiterating that random process, whenever a random variable becomes function of time, in that case, that random variable can be named as random process. There are many examples are there to understand the concept of random process. For example, you can take the example of the measurement of temperature of a particular place. In that case, you can define this random process easily, right? So I should draw a small graph for the measurement of temperature. So for example, if I want to define the measurement of temperature, then for example, this is the graph for temperature variations, right? And similarly, this is also a graph of, sorry, it is somewhat, this is also a graph of temperature variation. Now this is also a graph of temperature variation, right? So what I mean to say here, that if we are doing so, we are measuring a temperature of any particular place. In that case, see, for example, if you want to see the temperature at a particular time, for example at 12 noon, right? So it is very sure that the temperature at 12 will not be constant at each day, right? So for example, you can say that this is a temperature variation for a particular date, that is Monday, then you can say this is for Tuesday and this is for Thursday, right? Any days there, right? So in general you can say that days can be represented as zeta I. So this is zeta 1, zeta 2, zeta 3 and dash dash. So in that case your temperature measurement can be a random variable at different days. So we can represent that temperature measurement like xt comma zeta I. So zeta I means it is different days, right? It is different days and this is different time. So because temperature measurement is a function of time, it cannot be constant throughout the day. It will be varying, right? So that's why it can be named as random process. It can be named as random process, right? And if you sample it a particular time, if you see it at a particular time, right, then this instant will give you the value of random variable, because it will be a single value. It will be a single value, right? So this particular time instant can give you the random variable, and the whole distribution, if you want to study the whole distribution, then it will be a random process. So any example where you want, if you want to measure something, if you want to analyze any quantity which is not constant and which is varying with respect to the time, in that case, if you want to fully characterize that quantity, then you have to study the random process rather than random variable, because random variable give always you a real value, right? A particular real value, a constant real value. But in random process, you will get a waveform kind of thing, or you will get a signal kind of thing, where the quantity is continuously varying with respect to temperature, right? So this is the concept of random process, and definitely if we see that a random variable can be defined with the help of CDF and PDF. The same thing can also be defined with the help of random process can also be defined with the help of CDF and PDF. So, for example, here you can say that if at certain time t1 you have measured this value, and at certain time t2 you have measured some value, right? In that case, this value can be treated as a random variable, which can be x1, which is of x of t1, and this can be treated as a random variable x2, which can be written down as x of t2, right? So the CDF of this random variable can be simply written as here there is a random variable, and there will be x of t. There will be x of t, or you can simply write it in more general. You can write it like x of, we should write it here small x, because it is a value. So I can simply write x comma t1, right? So fx1 x comma t1. This can be the CDF of this random variable. Similarly, the CDF of this random variable can be written as fx2 x comma t2, right? This can be the CDF of this random variable, right? And if you want to write down the PDF, then simply what we can do, we can simply change our notation, that is px1 x comma t1 or px2 x comma t2, right? This can be a PDF of these two random variables. And if we want to study this whole random process, right? If we want to study the whole random process, then it will not be sufficient to study only a single these two random variables, right? What we have to do, we have to study them jointly, because both of these random variables are the part of random process, right? So if you want to study the whole process, what we have to do, we have to study these points jointly. So here we can define for random process, the CDF and PDF can be defined jointly. CDF and PDF can be defined jointly. So jointly. So for example, here you can define f of x1 x2. This is a CDF. Then you can write down For example, this is value x1, this is value x2, so this is x1 value, this is x2 value at time t1, at time t2. So this is a joint CDF. Similarly, you can have joint PDF. It can be written as x1, x2, semicolon, t1, t2, right? This is a joint PDF. So for example, at random variable x1, the value is x1, small x1. At random variable x2, the value is small x2. In that case, the CDF, jointly CDF can be defined as like this, and joint PDF can be defined like this, right? And definitely you can extend this joint distribution up to n times. So I should rub this again. For example, I want to define for it for n times, because only two points cannot define the whole process. So if you want to define it for n time, then you can write down simply fx1 x2 dash dash xn, x1 x2 dash dash xn, semicolon t1 t2 dash dash tn, right? This is joint distribution for n random variables, which is n points, right? N sample functions of this random process, right? Similarly, you can define the PDF px1 x2 xn, in bracket it will be x1 x2 dash dash xn and t1 t2 dash dash tn, right? So this is joint CDF and this is joint PDF for n sample functions. And if you define this x1 x2 xn, like you can define this like this also. If you are defining like this, then this whole expression can be little bit simpler, just to write here. So you can simply write fx bar x1 x2 dash dash xn, semicolon t1 t2 dash dash tn, right? So this is just a method just to write this whole expression to cut short, right? Nothing else. And you can simply write it down also like this, right? This is for n point n sample functions joint distribution, joint CDF, and this is for n point joint PDF, right? So here we have seen that to study the complete random process, we have to define these CDF and PDF jointly, and if we define them jointly, then only we can find out the full, and we can characterize the random process fully. So we can find out all the mathematics related to the random process if we do this endpoint analysis, right? So in other words, we can also say that this is n order CDF, this is n order PDF, right? This is second order CDF and second order PDF, and previously we have also defined the first order CDF and first order PDF, right? So you can also name them as n order CDF and PDF, right? So we'll see that if we want to characterize any random process, then up to how much order we can do the calculations, right? Now to understand this random process fully, we should also know some things that is related to these process, and these are simple, the mathematics of random variable, because whenever we want to calculate the final outcome, then we have to take the mean value, right? So what is the meaning of that mean value here? So I just want to write down those formulas for further analysis. So here we can consider that if we are having first order PDF, then what the result we can derive? So derived result will be the mean value, right? The mean value. What I mean to say, if we know the first order PDF, what the value we can find out? We can find out the value of mean if we know the first order PDF. So what is the formula for that? So mean can be simply defined as mu of x. In that case, it can be written as expected value of the random variable random process xt, and which is nothing but integration x of pxx dx, right? This we have to remember. X is a value, pxx is a pdf, and dx. We have to find out this value. Then this will be nothing but the mean of our random process. And this is what pxx is, a first order pdf. This is first order pdf. So we know, if we know the first order pdf, in that case we can calculate this integration, and if we calculate this integration, this will be nothing but the mean value, right? So this is the important thing, that if we know first order pdf, we can find out the value of mean. And if we know the second order pdf, if we know the second order pdf, then what will be the result, derived result? So the derived result will be, autocorrelation, right? Autocorrelation. So what is the meaning of that autocorrelation? Autocorrelation like this, at time t1, time t2, it can give you the expected value of x1t into x2t conjugate, and it can be simply solved by double integration x1 x2 pdf of x1 x2 in bracket x1 x2 semicolon t1 t2 dx1 dx2, right? So this is the function. When we know the second order pdf, this is the second order of pdf, right? px1 x2 x1 x2 semicolon t1 t2, this we have already seen. This is the second order pdf, and if we know the value of second order pdf, then we can simply find out the value of this function, that is expected value of x1t x2 conjugate t, and this is what, this is nothing but the autocorrelation. See, because it is always be complex or tough to deal with the distribution functions, or to analyze the distribution function. So what we are going to do, we are basically find out the mean, and we have find out the value of autocorrelation. And if we find out these values, then we can conclude some of the properties of the random process, right? So if we know the first order pdf, then we can calculate the mean. If we know the second order pdf, we can calculate the autocorrelation. And definitely if we have third order, fourth order, or fifth order, or the higher order pdf functions, then it will be very tough to solve them, because we don't have derived results for that, right, up to undergraduate level. So what I can say, that with the knowledge of first order pdf and second order pdf, at least we can calculate two values which are very popular to us, and we know the meaning of these values, right? For example, we know the meaning of mean, and we know the meaning of autocorrelation, right? So we'll see in the coming part of this lecture, we'll see that what is the benefit of these derived results. So till now, we should conclude here that if we know the first order pdf, then we can calculate the mean. If we know the second order pdf, then we can calculate the value of autocorrelation, right? Now we know that what is the definition of random process? Random process is the random variable which is a function of time, right? Which is a function of time, means it is having variations with respect to time. So now we are coming to the classification of random process. We can find out the classification of random process. So if we see the classification of random process, then we can have two types of popular random process. So what are these random processes? So we can say that here we are having random process, then first type of random process can be stationary random process, and the second type can be simply non-stationary random process, right? What is the meaning of stationary random process? It is very clear with its name itself, that whenever we are having a random process whose statistical characteristics do not change with time, right? Do not change with time. The process whose statistical characteristics do not change with time, it can be a stationary random process, right? And vice versa, if we say that the process whose characteristics, statistical characteristics, change with time, it can be named as non-stationary random process, right? So we can define these random processes, and definitely what we want that the process should be stationary, should be stationary, because it will be easy to do the analysis of such kind of random process if your process is stationary. And if we concentrate on the stationary random process in this lecture, then we can also further subdivide these two stationary random process. That first process can be strict sense stationary, that is named as we should write down like this. The first process can be strict sense stationary, and the second process can be wide sense stationary or weak stationary, right? Wide sense stationary or weak stationary. So here we are having a strict sense stationary and wide sense stationary. So now we want to see that how we can define mathematically that which process is strict sense stationary or which process is weak sense stationary or weakly stationary. So to do that analysis, we should see the graphical representation. Again, we should see that graphical representation, that for example we are having a random process with us, right? We are having a random process with us. And this is the process, for example x of t comma zeta I, right? This is a random process. So we can study this random process at different time. You know that this is the axis of time. So for example, you want to study the process here at time t1, then you can study this process here at time t2 dash dash. You can also study the process here at time tn, and according to this t1 you can have a random variable x1, according to this t2 you can have random variable x2, and according to this tn you can have random variable xn, right? This we have already seen, that from this random process, graph of the random process, what we can find out, we can fetch out these things, the random variable at different time value, right? And if you study this, if you want to study the process, you have to study all those random variables jointly, then only you can find out some characteristics of this random process. Now if you want to study the classification of this random process, then you can say that, for example, you are shifting this whole random process. If you are shifting this whole random process at a constant time t, for example this time is c, then what you can say that you can again have a random process like this. This is a shifted version of this random process, right? This is a shifted version of this random process. So for example, this time t1 is shifted here, and this is basically a new time which is named as t1 plus c, and this time t2 can be shifted here, and this is time t2 plus c, and this time can be named as tn plus c, right? So this is a random process, and this is a shifted version of this random process, shifted by a constant time c. So for example, for t1 plus c, the random variable can be named as x1 prime. For time t2 plus c, the random variable can be named as x2 prime. For tn plus c, the random variable can be named as xn prime. Then you can write down the joint PDF. You can write down the joint PDF for such random processes. So for example, here you can simply write down x1, x2 dash dash xn. This is here you can write on x1, x2 dash dash xn, comma t1, t2 dash dash tn. This is the joint PDF for this random process, and if you shift this random process by a constant c, then the new joint PDF for such this set of random variable can be written as P of x1 prime, x2 prime dash dash xn prime in bracket x1 x2 dash dash xn, and time will be t1 plus c, t2 plus c dash dash tn plus c, right? So this is the new PDF, new joint PDF for this set of random variable, and this is the original PDF for this set of random variable. So if our process is stationary, right, if our process is stationary, then in that case both these PDF should be same, right? If the process is stationary, this is the concept. If the process is stationary, in that case both these PDF should be same, right? And in that case we can say that the process is stationary. So now, and these both the PDF should be same. It means that all the nth order PDF, we are talking about the nth order PDF, all these sample functions are same, right? The PDF of at all these sample functions are same. So this process can be named as a stationary process. This process can be named as a stationary process because the statistical characteristics like PDF and CDF, they are not changing with respect to the time. Whenever we are shifting the time, we are shifting the whole random process with some constant time duration. In that case the characteristics are not changing. That's why the process is a stationary process. Now what we can do, now we can use that analysis or the knowledge which we have already gone through, that the value of mean and the value of autocorrelation, right? And we can say that with the knowledge of that autocorrelation and mean, what we can find out here, we have to see it. So now the definition should be clear, that if the nth order PDF of both these values of time is same, then in that case the process is stationary, right? Now we can simplify this whole analysis by doing the analysis of first order PDF and second order PDF separately, and then we can find out. I should rub this figure. Now, if we want to do the analysis of first order PDF, then we can say that by simplifying the first order PDF can be simply defined as the first order PDF of any random process can be simply defined as P of x comma t, right? We can say that. And the second order PDF can be simply defined as P of x1 x2 comma x1 x2 such t1 t2, right? So first order PDF, with the help of first order PDF, what we can calculate the mean value, right? We can calculate the mean value. So how we can say that? For example, in our discussion we are having P of x comma t, it should be equal to P of x prime x comma t plus c, right? So this is the result of that the characteristics at the first order are same, right? The characteristic at the first order are same. So here we can say that the mean So what I mean to say that here the first order PDF, that is P of x comma t, can be defined like this to check the first order stationarity, and so this you can say that if this is so, this is the first order stationarity, right? So because it should be true for all C, it should be true for all values of C. So what you can do here, you can also put at C is equal to minus of T. In that case, this value can be simply written as P of x prime x, and at C is equal to minus T, this will become 0. So this will be like this. So it means that the first order, for first order stationarity, the PDF becomes independent of time, right? Or you can say that with the help of this PDF, what you can calculate the mean value. You can calculate the mean value, right? That is called mu. So this mu becomes independent of time. The mu become independent of time, or mu become constant. Independent of time is constant. So with this conclusion, that if this is true for first order stationarity, if this is true, then what we can conclude, we can conclude that the mean value, if we calculate the mean value of any random process and that mean value is constant, then you can say that the random process is first order stationarity process, right? So you can say that mu is a constant, mu is a constant or independent from time, independent in time, right? So what basically we are doing here, we are just saying that if any process is having first order stationarity characteristic, what it means, it means that their mean should be constant, it should be independent of time. So directly what we can do now in any analysis of any random process or study of any random process, we will directly calculate the mean value. If that mean value is coming constant or independent of time, in that case we can simply conclude that this process is having first order stationarity, right? First order stationarity. Now simply we can also say it for second order stationarity, and we know that with the help of second order stationarity we can calculate the value of autocorrelation, right? So we can simply say that for second order stationarity, for second order, what we'll do, we'll say that px1 px2 x1 x2 comma t1 t2 should be equal to p of x1 prime x2 prime x1 x2 comma t1 plus c comma t2 plus c, right? So now it should always be true for all values of c, right? So now what we can do, we can simply put at any time c is equal to, for example, c is equal to minus of t1, right? C is equal to minus of t1. It should be true for every time, for every value of c. So the c can be take the value minus t1. If we do so, then what will happen with this function? With this PDF, we can say here p of x1 prime x2 prime x1 x2 comma, here we can c is equal to minus of t1, so this will become 0 and this will become t2 minus t1, right? What it means? It means that this PDF is now not the function of time, but this PDF becomes a function of the difference of the time, or you can say the function of delay, right? The function of delay. So this new PDF will become the function of delay, will become the function of delay. And with the help of this second order PDF, what you can calculate the autocorrelation, that is like this. Here you have written t1 t2, so at the place of t1 t2, what we can write down, we can simply write down t2 minus t1, or you can say that it can be simply write down like this, tau, right? So what I mean to say, what we can conclude, that if the autocorrelation function is a function of delay, not the function of time, then that process can have second order stationarity condition, right? So we have concluded two conclusion. I should write down here that if our process is stationary, right? See, if we have to prove the process is stationary, we have to check it for n order, right? We have to check it for n order, but we have checked it for first order, and for first order, what we conclude? For first order, we conclude that the mu should be constant. Mu should be constant. For second order, what we conclude? Second order, we have concluded that the autocorrelation should be a function of delay, not the function of time, right? Similarly, you can calculate any conclusion for third order, right? For fourth order and for nth order, right? And it is very sure that the calculations become more tough and complex if we are increasing the order of the PDF, right? So from this discussion, what we can conclude? We can conclude one point, that if we checked for any stationary process, if we check only these two conditions, in that case, that process can be named as wide sense stationary or weak stationary Why? Because I am not checking it for all values of n. We are checking only for n is equal to 1 and 2 for first order and second order. And if we check all the do calculations for all these n value, right? In that case, that process can be named as strict sense stationary process. Strict sense stationary process. So it is very natural that the calculation for strict sense stationary process will be so long and so tough, because we have to check it for n values. So in the calculation for in the communication engineering, what we do normally, we check only these two conditions and we say that the process is weak sense stationary or WSS, right? WSS. So from this analysis, we can also conclude that it is very clear that if any process is strict sense stationary, then it is sure that it will be WSS, because WSS is what? It is a subset of this whole triple S, strict sense stationary. So it is very sure that if any process is triple S, then it will be WSS. But still, if any process is WSS, you can say that it is not sure that the process will be triple S, because triple S or for strict sense stationary, we have to check it for n values, for n order, and any of the order can missed, then the process cannot be strict sense stationary. So the reverse is not true, but this direction is always true. If any process is strict sense stationary, then it will be WSS. But if any process is WSS, then it cannot be said that it will be a strict sense stationary. Only one exception is there. The exception is what? The Gaussian function. The Gaussian function. This is very important conclusion. The Gaussian function, right? The Gaussian function is WSS as well as triple S, right? If the Gaussian function is there, then WSS will be triple S also, and triple S will be WSS also. So this is an exception. Otherwise, in general, what we can say that triple S can give you the surety that the process will be WSS, but WSS cannot give you surety that process will be triple S, except the Gaussian function. If there is a Gaussian function, then you prove that Gaussian function is WSS, it is automatically proved that it will be triple S. So this is important thing. So I hope you got the concept today. Actually, we have defined the random process, and we have classified those random process into two parts, that one can be stationary and the second one can be non-stationary. If our process is stationary, then again it can be further classified to strict sense stationary and wide sense stationary or weakly stationary. And what is the meaning of those strict sense and wide sense? I told you with the help of the detailed mathematics. So whenever you are giving a numerical or you want to study analysis of any random process, what we have to do, we have to calculate the mean value, we have to calculate the autocorrelation, and if mean value is constant and the autocorrelation is a function of delay, then we can say that the process is weak sense stationary or wide sense stationary. So this is the concept. I'm stopping here now. In the next lecture, we'll try to see numerical for the classification of process. And,